All right. Just wanted to open up with what that sounds like. We're going to turn that off for now. I wanted to share with you guys today a little bit of what I've been working on the past couple days. This is a build that has been getting pretty hyped. There are a ton of variations of it. This is not a build guide or anything. This is just me sharing something that I put together on Friday. I only spent a few hours putting it together, and it is not anywhere close to being done. I will be, daily update videos talking about what I'm doing and the changes that I make, but I just wanted to share with you where I'm at right now and just really talk about like the fun and awesomeness of this build. So what this is a ward loop build. What does that mean? It means we have the defensive layer called ward, and we are combining that with Olroth's Resolve, which says that ward does not break during flask effect. And then we are doing all sorts of things to cause damage to ourselves, to trigger cast from damage taken, automatically cast spells based on that, and set up a heartbound loop. So we take damage, we summon minions, we take damage, we summon minions, and we want the minions to disappear almost instantly on our cooldown so that they are constantly just being resummoned and dying. In addition to that, we are also using Forbidden Right to do additional damage to ourselves. We are actually purposely keeping our Chaos Res on the lower side, so we are able to maintain that loop very, very well. And then we just have a whole bunch of skills that are triggering and doing damage, and they just go. Since we're using Olroth's Resolve, our ward doesn't break as long as the flask is going, and we have automatically using flask, and we have all sorts of additional flask charges gained and flask effect duration, all that, and we have that perfectly tuned. Like sometimes my flasks actually do run out. Like there's like if this loops like 20 times, I don't get a single flask charge, it'll run out and I'll die because we're doing damage to ourselves. We can kill ourselves when we're in our map, but we can perfectly tune this so we never run out of flask charges, and it just goes forever as soon as we kick off the loop. Then we just walk around. It is literally a 0-button build. I have phase run on my left click. I occasionally flame dash if I absolutely have to, and that's it. Automatically cast, automatically targets, and we just walk around and play the game. All right, anyway, let's show how the build works. Start the flask, do my weapon swap, let the engine start going. We have damage taken, recouped as mana. We have to make sure that we're sustaining our mana and our life and all that, and let's get going. So yeah, it's a very relaxing, smooth build. And my variation, so there's a ton of variations out there. People are doing all sorts of skills: Detonate Dead, Volatile Dead, Voltaxic Burst, etc., etc. You can really just pick and choose, and like whatever feels good for you, you can really put together. I wanted to go for like really like the big D damage. And, we know Ice Spear is like where the big D damage comes from. And I just want to have something that I can hard carry 6 people through harder encounters. I want to do Wave 30 Simulacrum carries. And so I'm just going for the very, very big damage here with the Ice Spear. Yeah, and also the other really cool thing with this build that I wanted to kind of lean into that I didn't do this league is taking advantage of the implicits from the Eldritch currencies. The other 2 builds that I did couldn't really get that much value out of it. And I just wanted to like really lean into it. Like I had not used an Orb of Conflict at all. In fact, I didn't know that Orb of Conflict could remove a low tier modifier entirely. I actually had to learn that the hard way on Friday. Is like I had a tier 1 and like a tier 3 or rank 1 or rank 3. And when I used the Orb of Conflict, it actually just removed the rank 1. That was a lesson learned there that I just had not engaged with the game mechanic yet. Another thing I really like to do when I try a new build is like force myself to branch out and like engage with mechanics that I haven't in the past. Anything like this, as you can see, like you don't press your flasks. All your flasks are automatically going, right? Reuse at the end of flask effect and use when charges reach full. And then I am just walking around, flame dashing once in a while and clicking on the stuff I want to click on. Everything is auto-targeted and just dies. This is way better than any other auto bomber I've tried to play in the past. And the damage ceiling potential here is very, very high, which I'm incredibly excited about. Also, when you do switch through a portal there, you will get temporary immunity, which will break the loop. You have to recast your loop. So, when you go into a new boss room or something like that, make sure you're ready to hit your weapon swap there. So yeah, let the engine get going, and let's fight Phoenix here. Now, I am, in terms of actual damage investment, I'm actually pretty low. I haven't invested too much into the damage at all. I've really just been focused on like just getting the build working, and I'm probably only at like a couple million DPS. And as you can see, it's fine, right? Don't even have to do anything. Just stand there and let the skills hit him and kill the bosses. The damage ceiling potential here is really, really high. Number one thing I just want to do here is share with you a build that I'm having a ton of fun with. And if you're interested in it, definitely give it a look. You know, if you're sitting on 100 exalts, you're bored, you want something that has the potential to do probably all the content in the game, honestly, very safely and very smoothly. And you want to challenge yourself for something that is very complicated to put together. Like I said before, almost definitely, this is the most complicated build I've ever put together. It is so finicky and very particular. Every number needs to be exactly right. And it requires a lot of alternate quality gems that are, very specific as well. So cool thing here is we are able to use both the Annihilating Light and Ashes of Stars. We're leaning on our alternate quality gems a lot here. Cool thing about Annihilating Light here is since we are leaning so hard into flasks, we can use something like a very charged up Bismuth flask here to counter a lot of that downside. Not to mention that since I want this to be a Simulacrum farmer, there's a lot of Brittle, Sap, and Scorch in Simulacrums, I'm just running Purity of Elements. Later on, I might actually end up replacing Herald of Ice here with Zealotry. I do have a Zealotry Watcher's Eye, but I don't know if that's something I'm really going to try to min-max for. Main thing is I just want to be alive and live through a Simulacrum and do carries. So yeah, even with the Annihilating Light, because we are able to have this charged up Bismuth Flask, I am able to almost already, without perfectly investing at all, have my max resistances, which is great. So I'm just going to quickly rattle off a lot of stuff of how this build works. And I'm not going to go into extreme detail. I'm just going to try to get through as quickly as possible to give you an idea of how complicated this is. As I said, go to like Captain Lance or someone who's made a very extensive build guide for details there. I will be talking about my upgrades and my journey as I upgrade this build and try to min-max it and make it a good carry. This is a build that is so complicated, I don't even want to make a build guide. The numbers are like, man, it's a pain in the butt. Anyway, how does the build start off? We use Essence of Insanity on both of our weapons here to trigger Spectral Spirits when equipped. You see all these little skull guys here? These guys are minions. When we swap back, we are using the Heartbound Loop, which we have the Attribute Catalyst on here, so we take even more damage. Default 350 Fizz. We have 420 because we have the Attribute Catalyst. We actually very specifically cannot have any armor in this build because armor will offset that damage and then it'll break the loop, right? We can't kick off the loop if we have any armor because it'll mitigate that damage. So we swap our weapon back. It kills those skulls, right? Let's stop that so it's not super annoying. It kills those skulls. We have our Heartbound Loop for when those skulls die, we take that amount of damage. That will then kick off the loop specifically with anomalous summoned skeletons. We need anomalous to make them can't be damaged after being summoned. Otherwise, if your skeletons are getting summoned and die, it'll break the loop in the middle of a map. So we have anomalous summoned skeletons, and all the gem levels and the qualities and everything are exactly specific as well. So you have to pay attention to that if you want to copy this build. We use anomalous minion speed support with reduced minion duration there. Then we have cast when damage taken here and a specifically 620 less duration for 52% less skill effect duration there. In addition to that, that damage alone from the minions won't be enough to like really sustain the loop here. So we also have Anomalous Forbidden Right here. I bought Anomalous Forbidden Right. It was like 50 chaos. I spent a little bit more, not necessary whatsoever. The reason why we have Forbidden Right here is it does very chunky damage to us, and we specifically actually want low chaos res. This will be enough to now continually sustain our loop. We have cast when damage taken support on Forbidden Right as well, so that is also triggering, doing additional damage to us, and so the skeletons go into Forbidden Right, which then is doing big damage to us, which will then trigger the other, the big high-level skills. Now, the reason why this build can work at all is Divergent cast when damage taken support. What the quality does on this is 20% reduced amount of damage taken to trigger. This will take that default number of 3272 at level 20 and bring it down by 20%, which is over 600 less damage required. That's really going to be the only way you're going to sustain that cast when damage taken loop very well. We don't really want to be taking as much damage as we can. We want to lower that. So Divergent cast when damage taken support is really critical to this build. It is currently going for 10 to 12 exalts. What I was able to do, and I actually have 2 of these in the build, I have one for Ice Spear, and then I have a double 5-link with Freezing Pulse and Creeping Frost. Creeping Frost is really nice because it is one of the very few skills in the game that can shotgun, which means that every single projectile can damage the same monster. Other projectile skills, usually you can't really shotgun them. So Creeping Frost is an exception there, and so it's really good for just shooting a bunch of projectiles and really pushing your damage to the next level. So we have a double 6-link with Freezing Pulse and Creeping Frost there, and an additional Divergent Cast Damage Taken support here. Now, Divergent Cast Damage Taken support, as I said, 10 to 12 exalts. But what I was able to do was buy Anomalous Cast Damage Taken support, and it's about a 29.5% chance with a secondary or grading lens, which is 2 exalts right now, to turn it into a Divergent. So I bought 5 Anomalous Cast Damage Taken supports and 5 secondary grading lenses for a total of about 12 exalts. And I just went down the line and hit every single one, and I hit 2 divergents. If I even hit a third divergent, I would actually be like very, very profitable because I could just sell one of them. And that's a good way that you can just double check whether you're overpaying for the alternate quality gems that are out there. And then gearing wise is actually fairly simple and straightforward. Is we care about ward, right? We want our ward to be as high as possible. We want ward bases for our helmet, gloves, and our boots. And on the body armor, we could go for a Grasping Mail, which is really, really good, right? It has 6 explicits, 100% global defenses, and then you could even craft it with great implicits on top of that. That's really what would take this build to the next level and probably going to be my next upgrade. But a very cheap thing that you can do is, just spend 20 chaos, buy a Skin of Loyal that has the right gem colors for you, +1 level socket of gems, 100% global defenses, and you could just buy them for cheap and go for double corrupts, and then you could hit like, +5 gem level or something like that, which will, really take it to the next level if you want to do that. I am specifically using Ashes of the Stars. Is this absolutely best in slot for me? Maybe not, but it's just really fun. It might be my favorite unique in the game right now, so that's what I'm using. I'm using, as I said before, I'm using Annihilating Light, deal triple damage with elemental skills. This is best in slot for damage, but 61% reduced elemental resistances. That is why I'm using a charged up Bismuth Flask and still trying to get my res up with Purity of Elements. I'm still not quite there yet, but it's good enough, right? Like, this is more of a glass cannon build. And, with that ward that's not breaking and everything, it is relatively tanky, kind of, right, for an auto bomber anyway. This build has been the easiest to play, hardest to put together, but easiest to play, most just like fun and hilarious type of just walk around and blow up the whole screen build I've ever played. Played the Flameburst auto bomber, I've played Storm Secrets auto bomber, I've tried those ones. And this one is just more fun and just kind of more hilarious to kick it off. The one downside is you gotta mute the audio. It is way too much, and I can't tolerate it. But it's a fun, hilarious build that's really just a joy to put together if you enjoy that challenge. But yeah, I gotta get ready for the stream, kick that off as we take this to the next level and really try to upgrade it. And in fact, I'm even thinking about giving Legends of Runeterra a shot today. So if you're interested in joining me for that, and backseating is welcome. Would love some knowledge there. If you know anything about that game, I am interested in it, and I want to mix it up with some card games and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Bye.